Hello, solopreneurs. Welcome to the Solopreneur Life Podcast. Today, I'm thinking about that first day as a solopreneur. Do you remember that day? Maybe for you, like me, it was years ago, but maybe it's happening to you right now. You are just launching your business, or you've done it so recently, you're still getting your feet on the ground. My first day, I was coming out of a full-time job. And this was launch number 2. If you know me, you know I've had 3 major launches. This was launch number 2 and probably the one that was most exciting because I still didn't have everything figured out. And yet I knew enough that I was confident I could succeed. Maybe you're there, but you've just checked out of work. You don't have a commute, and the most exciting thing in the world is walking across the house and thinking, that's it? That's my whole commute? 2 minutes, right? I've got my coffee in hand or my tea in hand. I'm sitting at my desk, and I remember that first day. I sat down to my desk, and I thought, now what? What on earth am I supposed to do now? Because that first day, you don't have clients yet. And if you're like me, you're not 100% sure of where to get them. Where are they? What is the secret handshake that puts you in front of clients who will pay you well, treat you well, and that will help you build your business? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. So again, welcome to the Solopreneur Life Podcast. I'm your host, Kathryn Aragon. Here, our mission is to help solopreneurs and freelancers just like you launch and grow a 6-figure business without overwhelm or burnout. Our desire is to make it easy and fun for you to build a life that you dream about. Now, today, we're talking about one of the key ingredients to that, and that is getting clients. But before we dive in, I want you to subscribe. So if you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button and set up alerts so you know when we're going live every Friday. If you are on the podcast, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. So what I've done is throughout all these years, I've found clients in so many different ways. And I decided, you know what, why not make this easy? Let's just break it down into 5 ways that you can get clients. Now, all of these have worked for me. Every one. I've done some more than others, just so you know, but all of these can work. And so it's really just a matter of finding the right mix for you. One thing I want to assure you of is there's no one right way to do this. A lot of it's going to depend on you. Your personality, your strengths, your weaknesses, and the kind of business that you run. Also, the kind of clients you serve, because what is marketing 101? You've got to get your message in front of the right people at a time and a place where they're paying attention. So, where are your clients? That's the thing you need to ask, and that's the thing that I think I didn't get when I was starting out. It was, okay, I can make a list of my dream clients. I can figure out, all right, I could write a sales page, or I could write a letter actually and send it to them. But how do I figure out the right people? How do I get in front of them? How do I make them pay attention to me? That's really what we're going to talk about today, because that's what matters. So let me give you the 5 ways that you can get clients. First is outreach. And this is really good if you are starting from zero, because you have to start reaching out to people, right? So outreach is a matter of you deciding, I want to talk to that person. And you figure out how to get in touch with them. You get a mailing address, an email address, whatever. You find them on social media, so you can message them. And then it's either a cold contact or a warm contact. Now, this is important. I want you to listen carefully. A cold contact, you are reaching out to a stranger. They've never heard of you, most likely, and they don't know you from anyone else. So you really have to make this perfect. You have to do it in a way that grabs their attention and makes them sit up and notice. Now, that can be tricky, but if you're skilled at marketing, if you're a copywriter, if you're creative, you can find ways to do that. And I'm developing some training on being able to develop creative outreach pieces, but don't have that ready for you yet. Right now, I'm just going to tell you, be creative. Do not use a template that some big website has published for you. Because you know what? I'm on the receiving end of a lot of those templates. And believe it or not, I wrote some of them. So I get these templates. All of them look alike. Every person who reaches out to me is using a similar template, if not the exact same one. And after a while, I just start yawning. I think, really? Again? Who are they? I still don't know. And they're using sentences that don't often make sense based on where they're coming from or what they want from me because they're using a template. Now, first of all, that is a huge turnoff. I'm not interested in someone who can't use their own brain. So use your brain. I'm going to be really blunt about this. Templates are great starting points. I use them. They're a shortcut for me. But I always adapt it and make it my own. So if you need to start with a template simply because you don't know how to get started, that's fine. But make sure you rewrite it. Make sure you make it yours. Adapt it. Don't use their hook. Come up with your own hook. Just use what they write as inspiration. But if you can come up with your own thing, you will stand out. Think about the receiving person. It's a human on the other end of your outreach letter or email or phone call. Actually, I guess cold calls count too, don't they? There is a human on the other end, and they're just like you or me. They get a ton of outreach articles, outreach calls, emails, letters. You need to treat them as a human, not as a money bag. They're not there to serve you. You're there to serve them. And you've got to keep that in mind. It's the only way you're going to stand out. So that's cold outreach. What about warm outreach? Warm outreach means you already have some relationship with that person. If you're just starting out, and let's say you've been working in a full-time job or you've had multiple full-time jobs, warm outreach is a really good option for you. With these, you can reach out to people in your network who you know might use your services or might want your product. That's perfect because when you reach out to them and you begin, and you just, again, you already know them, so you're automatically talking to them as another human. I do this one all the time because I've got a huge and amazing network. So when I am at a point where it's like, you know what, I'm needing a new client. I've got this client over here who is, I don't know, they're starting to wig out. They're not giving me regular content that they want from me. You know, the projects are beginning to dry up or they're not fun anymore. And I'm thinking, I see the writing on the wall. Let's look at who else is out there. A warm outreach is the perfect solution. I make a list of the people who I think might be able to benefit from my services. Now, notice what I did there. I did not say, I'm going to reach out to people who I want money from. I'm not in this just to take care of myself. I'm in this to take care of my clients. So I think in terms of who might be able to use me. I know what my skills are. Where could those skills bring benefit? And when I approach it like that, I have the right tone. I speak the right way. And so it's not a put off when I reach out to people. Now, another thing to keep in mind here is reciprocity. Just yesterday, I was reaching out to someone to speak at Solopreneur Summit, which, by the way, is coming up in April. Put it on your calendar, April 20th to 21st. You want to be there. I've got this fantastic speaker. I had him in mind for a topic that we all care about, work-life balance. And his response was perfect. I sent him, it was a warm outreach. Would you please speak at my event? We've got this much going on. I think you would be great talking about this topic, whatever. That was outreach. Well, his return was, I would love to speak at your event. There are a couple of topics I enjoy. Here they are. Now, I'm also looking for this. Can you help me? Look at what he did there. That was reciprocity. I'm going to do this thing for you, but could you do something for me as well? You can do that. I wouldn't lean heavily into the can you do something for me in advance, also, but many times if you have relationship with people and you've been generous, you've given to them, you've given them opportunities, you've done good things for them, your warm outreach isn't a problem. It's welcome. You can just simply say, hey, I've got a client I don't think they're going to be lasting much longer. Or you could say, I have an opening in my client roster. I'm looking for someone who fits this criteria. And you have to be specific. This is what I'm looking for. Do you know anyone? Now, here's the cool thing about that. It's possible that the person you're reaching out to needs your services. And you may know that. But because you didn't ask them directly, you said, hey, do you know anyone who needs this? Now all of a sudden they're going, oh, wait, but I need that. And they will reach out and begin discussions with you. I've done that multiple times with a warm outreach to somebody I already know. And I was like, hey, I see I've done it the way I just told you where, hey, do you know of anybody? I've also done it, hey, I notice you just got a new job at this new company. Are you needing this? And again, very specific. They know me. They've worked with me in the past. So it's a super easy thing to reach out and rebuild that relationship. Now, outreach, if you're new to being a solopreneur, most of the time it's going to be cold. So keep in mind, you need to be creative, but you always need to treat the other person as a human. You want to talk to them as a person, not as this non-entity on the other end of a template. So whether it's warm or cold outreach, make sure it's relational, which brings us to the second way of getting clients, and that is social media. Now, social media, I'm going to tell you about why this is one of my favorites. Years and years ago, I was a new solopreneur. This was just a year. Was it a year? No, it was 2 years after I had launched. So that one day I was sitting at my desk, where do I start? I actually decided on a couple of things, which I'm going to mention in this podcast. But one of the things I started doing was focusing on name recognition and credibility. And social media was part of that. Name recognition comes from being seen and being heard. So this podcast is one way that I do name recognition. I'm getting my name out there. I'm creating reach. Social media is a fantastic way to do that. But don't worry about being everywhere. Figure out where your best prospects are and make sure you're there. LinkedIn, for me, is a big one. Twitter is a good one. And Twitter is one of my favorites because this is how I got my first fantastic client. This was years ago. Like I said, 2 years after I'd launched. I was just coming off of the first year after my spinal cord injury. And I was thinking, okay, I kept my business alive. I had a couple of clients even while after that first year when I was in massive recovery mode. But I had kept my blog alive. And what I hadn't done is promoting my content in social media. So this was 1 year after all that, and I was like, okay, it's time to start. I need to pick up social media again. And Twitter is what brought me my client. I had just written a blog post. I shared it like I always did in Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. And I got a phone call just a few days later. It was from the managing editor of the Crazy Egg blog, and he said, I need you. It's like he didn't just call asking about my services. He called to hire me based on an article I had written on my own website. He was like, whatever you do, that's what I want. I want you writing for me. So social media can most definitely get you noticed. It can get you name recognition. It can get you the attention of the people who want to hire you. But these days, it's a little different from what it was back then. That was a long time ago. And back then, all I did was share the content that I wrote on my own website. I just gave links back to my own content. Today, that's not how social media works, and you know this as well as I do. It's a little bit of a growing up for me because many times when we start with something, and you'll experience this, especially if you're new, what is normal right now? You're going to just say, this is my system. This is what I like to do. I have it figured out. But you know what? It won't be what works in 5 years. It won't be what works, especially in 10 years. Right now it works, and you need to evolve with the world. So social media is one of those things. Content marketing is another that has evolved over the years, and it will continue to evolve. So keep that in mind as you step into social media. You need to be social. On social media, that's what it's about. It's your networking. This is how you're going to build those warm relationships that you can do outreach with. But do not make this mistake. This is the biggest red flag I see. And that is people hear that comment. Use LinkedIn, for instance, because this is where it happens most. Use LinkedIn to connect with people, build a relationship with them, and then pitch them. It sounds smart, doesn't it? But here's how it actually plays out. Somebody connects with me, and red flag number 1 is I can see their title, and it has to do with offering a service that they think I might want. The other is if they leave a message that, hey, I offer this, that, and the other thing to people just like you, whatever you happen to be. And then they want you to connect. And I now don't accept those connection requests because it's a pitch. The minute I say I accept, they're going to pitch me. Now they're trying to use LinkedIn as cold outreach. Do not do that. But even worse are the people who try to slip under the radar. They send me a connection request. There's no evidence that they're going to pitch me, so I go ahead and accept. But guess what happens? They ask me, oh, how are you doing? Oh, how's your business going? And then they pitch. It's like literally that fast. They want to start a conversation, and they think that warmed me up because now I know them. That's baloney. I just do not do that. If I don't know you, don't pitch me unless it's a legitimate cold pitch that you have put thought into. Do not connect and pitch. That's not how social media works. In social media, your goal is to build a network that's powerful. Think about that. A powerful network is a network full of people who know you, they know what you do, and they care about your success. There may be reciprocity in there, but many times there's not. It's just you're in my network and I respect you. I am right now reaching out to speakers for the Solopreneur Summit. Solo Summit is for solopreneurs, but we abbreviated it. So for Solo Summit, I'm reaching out to people, and I've got some amazing people who are willing to come. I just say, hey, I'm putting on this event. Would you come speak? And they're like, yeah, I'm in. You know why? It's because I have a great network that I have built and nurtured over time. That's what social media is for. That's what I want you to focus on. Number 1, I want you to focus on getting seen. That means name recognition and credibility. I want you to post your thoughts. Treat it like a blog. You can write 2-sentence blog posts. And I say blog posts because that's how I started thinking about it, is your blog is actually less valuable these days than your social media posts. So when you are posting social content, your posts on social media, think of them as tiny blog posts. They may be 2 sentences, they may be 3 sentences, or they may be a short essay. Just do it. Share your knowledge, share your tips, share anything that's going on that gives you credibility, that gives you name recognition. And through that, you're going to start building your network. And that network is the most important asset in your entire business. Nurture it. Take care of it. Do not send up those red flags that I don't want to talk to this person or they will pitch me. So yes, we're talking about getting clients, but guess what? You don't do that by pitching every random person who breathes. You do that by building real relationships with people who might actually benefit from what you're doing. And then you have conversations with them. And that's what social media is all about, conversations. So if you start following somebody because they're cool, for one, and also I think I might be able to work with them, when they post, leave comments, engage with them. I'm the world's worst at leaving comments. I fly by doing like, heart, oh, that's cool, but I don't comment. And that is a huge mistake. It's the thing I work on most in social media because I don't always have something I feel like I need to say. You may be like that too, and I get that. I'm a bit of an introvert. I'm not a conversationalist. And so commenting on posts is work for me, but it's such important work. You need to learn how to do it. You need to put the energy into doing it, especially if it's someone who you want in your network, because they don't know you if you're only liking their posts. They only know you if they start having conversations with you. So engage with the people who comment on your post, but also engage with other people on their posts. That's the secret to social media. So we've talked about outreach. We've talked about social media. What about word of mouth and referrals? This one is amazing. After my third launch, which was coming on 2 years ago, word of mouth is what rebuilt my business. Now, I had a few clients who I kept during a stint with a full-time job, but I wasn't in growth mode. I was in hold the pace road. I was really just trying to keep the business alive so I could come back to it because I always do. This is my passion. This is how I like to work. You're probably the same. And I will never tell you not to go take a full-time job. It will take your business to the next level very quickly, which is why I sometimes do it. But when you come out, guess what? You have a bigger network. You have a whole new slew of people who you can do outreach with. And in my case, I was able to put the word out with a few people and they became word of mouth advertising for me. The first thing I did when I quit my job was I sent out, 5 emails to different people. And I was like, hey, I'm leaving this job. I'm about to launch my agency again. I'm looking for this. Now, I have a tip for you on this. They need specifics. Nobody knows who to refer to you if they don't know what you're trying to build. And I had this conversation with a very dear friend of mine, and he was like, but Kathryn, I don't know what you're trying to do. I send referrals all the time, but I never send them to you because I don't know specifically what you're trying to do. So you've got to be able to nail down who you're looking for and what you can do for them and what value you offer in order for other people to send you word of mouth referrals. Now, these referrals are the best way you can grow your business because somebody who that person trusts told them that you're the person. These are the easiest clients to close. They really are. I've gotten some great clients this way. I've got some that have lasted, I had one that lasted over a year. I had another one that it was just the best project ever. And they're wonderful people to work with. But I've also had some that closed very quickly because of that recommendation. So I'm just warning you off. I'm warning you on this one. These clients don't always last a long time. Because of that recommendation, they may not actually go through the work of deciding, yeah, you're the person I'm looking for. Or this is what really happens to me. They haven't gone through the work of deciding they want it. Someone told them they needed it and recommended me. They called me and they were really just trying me on for size. Not trying me on, but trying on the service. So be aware, word of mouth has its giant pro, but there's a few cons to it. These are people who are going to trust you very quickly because it was a referral. Some of them aren't really ready for your service yet, and you've got to be smart enough to make that decision. I had one referral that I probably should have said no to right away. They really didn't have the budget. but I really wanted to help them. It's sort of as a way of saying thank you for the referral. If nothing else, I wanted to take care of this person. But it didn't last because in order to get the price down to what they needed, I had to subtract so much services, so many services, so much value that they ended up leaving me very quickly. So just be aware, with word of mouth, there are a few rules. They're going to be really great contacts. They come ready to talk, but they may not be ready to buy. And you have to make that decision. That's totally on you to say, you know what? I think you will someday be ready for this. I think I'm out of your budget, or I think I'm beyond the scope of what you really need. But if you don't mind, I'm going to keep you in my network. I'm going to keep reaching out to you and checking on you every now and then. And maybe that time will come down the road. That's one way to handle that. Another tip I want to share is say thank you to the person who referred you. I didn't used to do that, and it's rude. Honestly, again, this is my introvertedness, not thinking about reaching out to people. You need to reach out to the people who are referring you on a constant basis and keep them updated. Let them know how the project is going. Let them know, hey, I love this client. This was amazing. Because you know what? That will help them send even better people to you in the future. It also gives them a feeling of, look at me, I'm such a helpful person. And don't we all like to feel that way? That the warm fuzzies of, I'm making a difference in two people's lives because I'm helping this solopreneur who wants to grow her business, and I'm also helping these connections in my network who need help. They want recognition from both of those people, so don't let that slide. Send thank you notes. Keep them updated. Make word of mouth a really powerful piece of your marketing tool set. So what have we talked about so far? Okay, outreach, social media, word of mouth, advertising. Our fourth one is advertising, and I'm going to be honest, I don't do this hardly ever. There is a way you can do it very affordably, though. You don't have to launch a big advertising campaign. Content. Let's say that you have shared a social post on your Facebook page. This is not your on your profile, but on your business page. And after a while, you think, you know what? That's getting good engagement. Let me promote that post. Let me put a little money behind it. $5 a day, $1 a day, just a little bit of money, and setting up who should see that post. That can make a huge difference. That's basically advertising, but it's very simple. It's not complicated, and it's just a matter of you're already posting things on social media. You're already adding value. Make sure there's a good call to action and put a little money behind it. That's the secret to advertising. I'm just going to leave it at that because this is not one I think you should do a lot of. As a solopreneur, you want to keep things as simple as possible. Advertising is a real option, and if you have a product to sell, advertising is, yes, that's way more your way to go. If you, I'm going to actually put advertising behind Solo Summit coming up. Because why? I need reach. I need to get the word out, and I don't need to talk to people before they buy. So if that's your case, if you've got some service or some product that people can just buy online and access, advertising is a good bet. If you're trying to sell your services, hold off on this. You might, like I said, put some money behind your posts to get the word out, to build awareness, that name recognition I was talking about, but don't think advertising is your best bet for getting new clients. The other things I'm talking about here are far better. So that brings us to our fifth piece, and that is content marketing. Content marketing plus social media is where I started way back when, after my second launch, and I was like, I'll tell you what I decided. When I sat at my desk on that first day, and I said to myself, what now? And I really felt lost. I felt like I was standing on the edge of the universe, and anything was possible. I didn't know how to narrow the focus. And that's what you need to do. If you focus on name recognition and credibility, I'm going to tell you right now, your two best bets are content marketing and social media. And then right behind that is outreach. but social media and content marketing will get you off the ground. They will. I know it feels saturated right now, but there is no better way. If you do it right and if you do it well, there's no better way to get known. My content marketing is what put me on the map. How I decided to do it is I was sitting at my desk and I said to myself, okay, I was just promoting the business that I came from, the job that I quit. My job was to create content and marketing materials for them. Why don't I just do what I did for them? I'll just do it for me. That's what I decided to do. And I was like, okay, I write content for them. I do newsletters for them. I write tweets for them. That's literally where I started. And I immediately started my blog. I started a newsletter soon after, once I felt confident that I could produce the content once a week. And then I started social media to help me promote my content. See what a simple plan that was? But here's why content marketing is so important. And it has to do with proof. So now I'm going to step away from the 5 ways to get clients. I've given them to you. Outreach, social media, word of mouth, advertising, and content marketing. But we're going to dig into this content marketing just a little bit more. All right, when you are getting people's attention, that's the first thing you've got to do. And all the tactics that I just gave you are great for getting attention. But what do you do once you have their attention? I can just feel you asking, what? Okay, fine, I have people's attention, now what? Well, you have to initiate conversations, don't you? So that's what those people in social media are trying to do. They're trying to compress this process into one conversation. They're trying to get you on a thread in LinkedIn, and they're trying to say, hi, how are you? Okay, I do this. Okay, you need me. Now hire me. You can't do it that fast. In one conversation, you're not going to get there. So I want you to relax about that. The fact that you have a conversation and you don't hear from them for maybe a week, maybe a month, sometimes 6 months, that is okay. Some of my very profitable clients, I talked with them one time. I talked with them again maybe 2 months later, and we decided not to work together for whatever reason. And 6 months later, I get another email saying, hey, are you still available? I need you. It sometimes takes time to close a deal. Be comfortable with that. But what happened? I had a conversation, that first conversation where we got to know one another. And she began to get a feel for where my strengths are, how my brain works, how I solve problems, who I work with. That conversation was about her discovering who I am and me discovering who she was. Discovery. Once attention has been got, you need to start discovery, and that most of the time happens on Zoom in a conversation, although it can happen through email or in a social media chat or anything else. Right now, I find that most of my clients want a Zoom conversation, and I think being able to see one another facilitates this. So in this conversation, you start with just getting to know one another. That's all. You're just trying to see, are we even a fit? Do they need something that I can help them with? Do my services fit the way they work and what they do? My second conversation with this client I'm talking about right now was just that. And at the end of the conversation, we decided that what they needed at that moment wasn't a good fit for me. It was a little beyond the scope of my agency, and that I felt like they could find someone better. I was willing to pull in people, subcontractors on my part, to be able to help me with that job, but they decided to go with someone else, and I was fine with that. Because honestly, I want a perfect fit, not a so-so fit. And so do you. So you get attention. You move on to discovery, which happens through conversations. At some point, you're going to make an offer or they're going to ask for your services, but here's what they're going to want: proof. They need to know that what you do is good enough for them. And I do this a lot. If you've ever reached out to me to write for me, as some of you may have, I want evidence that you can do it. Because if I've got a paid client who I'm trying to support, and if I hire a writer to help me with that client, and that writer turns in garbage, which I don't mean to be rude, but it happens, because they're not skilled enough, they don't have enough experience, they maybe don't know the subject matter well enough, and when I asked, do you know this topic, they said yes, when they shouldn't have said yes. I need proof that I don't have to rewrite that article after they turn something in, and them expecting me to pay them for something I couldn't use. See, this is how your client is also feeling. So when you're reaching out to people, be ready to prove that you can do what you say you can do. Now, proof can look like a lot of different things. And it starts with your website. If you can market your own business, you'll have evidence of everything, especially if you're selling marketing services. The way I say it is, your website is your sandbox. Play in it. Go do everything you know about copywriting, content marketing, growing a business, everything, all the services you might offer, you can use to build your own web business. That includes social media content, development work, sales. It doesn't matter what service you're offering. Your business is your sandbox. So make sure you're doing what you talk about. Make sure you're doing the service that you're trying to sell, that you're doing it for yourself. Because think about that Twitter exchange with my first really great client. They saw a tweet about one of my own blog posts. They read my blog post, explored my blog, and he even came back and said, your website doesn't look like every other copywriter's. And that impressed him. He went and he saw that I knew what I was doing because I wasn't using templates, I wasn't copying other people, and I had quality material, quality marketing on my website. Your business is a sandbox. I want you to play in it. Prove that you can do what you say you can do by doing it for yourself. That is the number one proof you can do. The second is using social media the right way. Again, you can publish your own posts on social media. That's content. That's thought leadership. That's your ideas about what your audience is struggling with and how you can solve that problem. If you're sharing that information, that's proof that you know what you're doing. And the bigger your followership, it's not about vanity numbers. It's about people respect you. People want to learn from you. And a new prospect who comes and sees that you are, that you have a huge followership, that you have a lot of engagement on your posts, guess what? They're going to go, oh, I should be following this person too. You see how that works? It's social proof. Social proof works. Thought leadership works. Sharing a great testimonial that you got from a client. Sharing awards or recognition. Sharing anything that just makes you look good. Don't be afraid to make yourself look good. I tend to be overly shy about that, and I don't want you to be. I'm not a good example to follow in this regard. Use social media to toot your own horn and get comfortable with it because it will help. And then, your website is your sandbox. Using social media the right way. Also content marketing, and this is what I was wanting to share earlier. Your content shares, it's product marketing. Think about it like that. As a business, you need to let your prospects and your customers know how you solve problems, how you think, and confirm that you have industry knowledge. The way you do that is with content marketing. Now, I get paid good dollars to do this for my clients. I write this brand versus that brand articles. I write articles that talk about our process in doing this. I've written advanced guides for clients. I've written books for clients. All of these are how-tos and ideas, and what it does is it confirms that my client knows what they're doing. But I did that for my own business when I was starting out. Every week, religiously, I published a blog post that talked about something related to what I did for my clients. It might be a how-to. It might be just an idea. It might be a forecast, like I see this coming down the road. Again, all of this just confirms for people that you're that you're in it for the long haul. You're not a fly-by-night who's going to disappear on them, that you know what you're doing, and that you have a system in place for solving their problem. That's what content marketing is going to share. Your content is going to share your knowledge, your experience, and your value. So you need to be producing content. I'm fine with you publishing primarily on social media. Today, that really is where people will find your content. But you maybe have a podcast like this one. Maybe have a YouTube channel. Maybe start a blog on your website where you can, if you're a writer, write. You've got to share your stuff. You've got to show off what you know. Content marketing is the number one way to do that. The rule when it comes to getting clients is this: show, don't tell. You can tell people your value, but ultimately you have to show them. You have to have proof elements. And just saying, I get this a lot. Oh, I'm a good writer. I don't care if you think you're a good writer. I need to see your writing so I know it. Or I've had to, I can get you all the clients you need. Well, show me, let me see evidence that you know how to do what you say you're doing. I need to see testimonials. I need to see case studies. I need to see anything that gives me some kind of evidence that you know what you're doing. Now, this just popped into my head. I'm remembering when I was applying for that first major job I got as a copywriter. Now, this is post just after my first launch, when I honestly didn't know what I was doing. And I decided the best way to solve that problem, since I had no clue where to find clients and I was having no success, is I would get a job doing the thing I said I would do. But here's the deal. I had created some sales collateral to sell my services as a copywriter. I was never able to really get in front of very many people, but I had a couple of really good pieces. I had a case study. I had a report that it was kind of a white paper. And guess what? I shared those with my prospective employer, and I got hired based on those pieces I had created for my own business. When I say your business is your sandbox, that's what I mean. Create sales pieces for your own business. Create systems for your own business. And then you have proof. You're doing it successfully for yourself. Of course you can do it successfully for your clients. But if you can't do it for yourself, that's a good clue that you're probably not going to cut it for your clients either. So what do you need to do? Go get a job, some training, an apprenticeship, anything that will help you build your skills. It doesn't mean you're dead in the water. It just means you need to beef up your skills and your proof, because that's ultimately the bottom line. If you want to get clients, you need to show, not just tell, that you can do what you're going to do. You need to be solving a problem they care about. And then you need to prove that you can do it. Well, that's what I have for you today. Jonathan, do you have any questions?
There's a lot of good stuff here, and we could probably go a whole nother 40 minutes.
Easily.
Just digging in deep to these things. And just kind of as a recap, I want to kind of go back to where you started, and that was, in building relationships and getting attention. That you talked about cold calls, and those are probably the most difficult ones
for a lot of people. Yeah,
and it's probably the most intimidating ones to do.
Yes.
And I think so. The question is, how do you make a cold call seem personal? And that would be, because I loved how you called the fake pitch on social media baloney, because it's clear you're not trying. I'd rather you be honest with me,
yes,
than make it sound like you want to be my friend, but you don't really want to be my friend.
That's the honesty issue. I told you about the prospect who I met with them like one time, and then I had another meeting with them about, but we want these services, can you do it? And I was honest. I told you also, I always ask a new writer, can you write, do you know this topic? And they will inevitably say yes, and that's baloney because they don't. But I was honest, and I told them, I said, I have an agency that focuses on this. I have knowledge about what you're talking about, but not enough experience to do it myself. So I will bring in some some vendors to help me with that. But notice how I did that. I can solve your problem, but I won't try to do it myself because I recognize it needs more experience than I've got. By being honest, I set myself up for 6 months later, them calling me back saying, no, we want your sweet spot now. We understand that that wasn't your sweet spot, but now we're ready for you.
And, that's where, like, advertising, you talked about how advertising, it's actually a form of cold pitch because I'm not building a relationship with you first. There's no real two-way conversation, but it's more honest. I'm going to start this conversation by telling you there's something I have to sell to you. There's a product that I have, an event that I want to make available to you. And that's more honest. Sometimes advertising, even though it seems like, it's impersonal compared to what you're talking about with relationship. With advertising, though, I'm being very honest with you from the get-go. And the relationship, I think the mistake people make with relationships is they forget that it takes time to build a relationship. And this shortcut.
Yeah, there are no shortcuts. There really are not.
Oh, we're friends now. We're connected on social media. So, and it does seem disingenuous. And at that point now, I can't trust anything you say.
I think that's the point. Your first impression sets the stage for the rest of your relationship. You want to make a good first impression. So that connect and pitch tactic, that's going to ruin your business.
Right. Think about how we connect at a live conference. We don't walk up to someone and say, "Hey, what's your name?" and then immediately pitch them. We're talking. Wasn't that an amazing session we just came out of? And we're getting a coffee together, and maybe where are you guys from? Did you travel far for the event?
Right.
And a conversation builds, and then it may be. In fact, this happened to us at the Perry Belcher event.
Yes.
We were talking with somebody, sharing what we did, and then he said, "Hey, here, send me an email. I want to know more." And so I did.
Other times they'll, we're talking about your financial services business. They hear, oh, you do financial services? I have a question. And that leads into the conversation we were just talking about.
Right. And then it's just truly a conversation, again, about answering their question. I'm solving a problem.
This is what we mean by conversation. We don't mean push. We mean add value in advance.
Right.
Answer their questions. Be generous with your knowledge. And ultimately, they're going to go, oh, wow. Not only are they generous, not only are they knowledgeable, but I like them. People hire someone they know, like, and trust. So you must prioritize them getting to know you, liking you, and trusting you.
Yeah, you can't compress this process. We don't make friends overnight. People don't earn trust overnight. They don't become trusting overnight. And they may be watching you. May have been watching, which is why I love what you said about, just do it, even when you think no one's watching.
Yeah.
You don't think anybody's paying attention to the blog. Why do I bother? But just the other day, I think it was just yesterday. I think I was sharing this with you, or I may not have shared it with you yet, that I got a message in LinkedIn about somebody who said their professor had recommended that they read a blog post of mine that I did 2 years ago. And I didn't even know anybody was watching that blog. It's an old blog that I'm not even...
It's not active anymore.
I'm not even actively keeping it up. But some professor saw value in that to share with a student. And that's kind of what happened with you on Twitter with Crazy Egg.
People are watching you. And so that name recognition and credibility, that is so key. And yes, I get lazy about it now because I already have both of those things. I don't have to be as on top of my content or my social media, and I can just do a warm outreach to get things moving again. But if you're just starting out, you have to focus on those two things. You need to be consistent. You need to be getting yourself out there in front of people, making yourself visible. That's the first step to getting clients, attention. So you've got to be out there where they can actually see you.
The other thing you said, I really wanted to, before we run out of time, to talk about was with regard to word of mouth, that it's up to you to let people know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And what's changing. And that's where social media can help. You can make a post, hey, guys, I'm doing this. But it's also, okay to reach out to former clients and say, hey, I've just added a new service. This is new. I've changed this. We've, welcome to a new team member.
Yes.
So that they go, oh yeah, I forgot.
And here's the secret to that. Always think like a PR expert. Any excuse to put a word out, take it. It's really just, it doesn't matter if it's valid or that it has to do with sales or or that it actually acquires a client. What matters is you are constantly being seen. So look for any excuse to reach out and let people know what's going on.
And so building on that, or going back to the word of mouth, you talked about referrals and that word of mouth, that sometimes those aren't actually the best connections. They may be more a quicker process because the trust factor, the fact that you became recommended, crossed that threshold. But you still got to vet them. You still got to make sure, it's on you to make sure that the person who referred them is not responsible for making sure they're a fit. But I also really wanted to come back to the importance of saying thank you.
We talked about this in another podcast where I confessed I'm really bad at saying thank you. But I corrected that. And so if you get a chance, we'll try to put in the comments what podcast that was. But you need to go back and listen to that one.
That was I remember that podcast. We'll put the link in there.
Yeah.
But here's what I thought it was good. It's such a good reminder just because it's good relationship. It's what we ought to be doing.
Yeah.
But the other thing is you're actually telling that person what kind of referrals work best.
Yes.
Where the connections are working, because so that they know when they run across somebody, hey, no, actually, I just referred this client and it was a great fit. Versus, well, I don't know what's working. They're not giving me any feedback.
Exactly. So, and again, this is about building your network and nurturing it. And we just talked about any excuse to reach out to people. If somebody is sending you referrals, this is a good excuse to stay at the top of their mind. Giving them feedback on their previous referrals just reminds them, oh yeah, I forgot. This guy was just asking about that. I could send them to her. You've just got to think about it.
Yeah, and then so in that same light, when you were talking about going back to using content marketing and the smart ways to use content marketing, using your website as a sandbox and all of that, I loved what you said about using testimonials. But you can do this in a way where it seems authentic. You can say something, I just got this wonderful thank you from a client.
Yeah.
And it made my day. But what you're doing, again, you're putting yourself front of mind with others who are in your network. And they go, oh, that's right. She does this kind of thing. She does work for that client.
And she's getting good feedback on it, so she must be good.
Right.
Yeah.
And the flip side to that is making sure we're being just as, in the name of reciprocity, just as generous with our comments about people that we know.
Yes.
And people that we've worked with. Again,
that building and nurturing your network, you've got to think about that. And so it isn't all about you. Think about some person you've known in the past, and every time you were with them, it was all about them. Did you really want to be with that person for very long? Or were you just like, okay, I'm done with this because I kind of need it to be about me too? That's what reciprocity is about. If you are always asking but never giving, I call these people users and takers. And I kind of try to steer clear of them. Don't be a user and a taker. Be someone who gives as much as you take.
The title of today's session was 5 Ways to Get Clients. And really, the one overarching thing that we keep coming back to is the number one thing to keep top of mind in all of these strategies is relationship.
That's right.
Treat people with dignity. Treat people like people. They're not a gravy train. They're not a meal ticket. They are a person with needs. Even if they're a company, that person you're interfacing with is trying to bring their best to their employer. And you need to be seen as an ally, as someone who.
I'll tell you why this is so important. When you get the project, you're going to be working with that person on the other end. If you already have focused on building relationship, it's going to be an easy work relationship.
Exactly.
If you've been focusing on, but I do this thing, I'm focused on the way I work, you're going to have a bad relationship with them. You won't know that you're going to be able to sync, and you probably won't, because again, it's kind of all about you. So build the relationship. It will improve your client retention. It'll improve your ability to serve them. You will get good reviews that then you can share on social media, and you create this virtuous cycle of positive reinforcement where every client leads to another client. That's ultimately, that's the key to this. Every client should lead to the next one. You should never have to struggle to get clients. And it's all about relationship. That's really where it starts. Anything else? Okay, so this is such an important aspect of growing your solopreneur business. We wear all the hats. So, we've got to be good at strategy. We've got to be good at taking care of our clients and offering our services. But ultimately, we can't do any of that if we don't have clients. So this is what I want you to do. I want you to really take to heart what we talked about today. I want you to download this podcast. I want you to watch it or listen to it over and over and over again until you're comfortable with it. If you're struggling on any level with getting or retaining clients, probably the answer is somewhere in today's podcast, because we didn't hold anything back. But the other thing I want you to do is start working on your network. And you know what? Your network with other solopreneurs is as important as the network with your prospects and clients. For that, you need to come to solopreneurlife.com. You need to join the hub and be part of a thriving community of people who are learning and growing together. That's your best bet. I look forward to having you on Solopreneur Life, and I want to thank you so much for being a part of the community and listening. Be sure, if you haven't already, to subscribe, and we'll bring more solopreneur goodness next week. Until then, stay awesome.